Luke chapter 15 is going to be our text for this morning. Luke chapter 15, and we're going to be looking at verses 11 through 32. Verses 11 through 32. And I'd like to go ahead and just read the text, and then we'll get into the message. And I'll be reading from the New American Standard. And he said, a man had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the estate that falls to me. So he divided his wealth between them. And not many days later, the younger son gathered everything together and went on a journey into a distant country. And there he squandered or wasted his estate with loose living. Now when he spent everything, a severe famine occurred in that country, and he began to be impoverished. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would have gladly filled his stomach with the pods that the swine were eating, and no one was giving anything to him. But when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired men have more than enough bread, but I am dying here with hunger? I will get up and go to my father, and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired men. So he got up and he came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him, and he felt compassion for him and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slave, Quickly, bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fatted calf, kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and has come to life again. He was lost and has been found. And they began to celebrate. Now his older son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music, dancing. And he summoned one of the servants, and he began inquiring what these things could be. And he said to him, Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound. But he became angry and was not willing to go in. And his father came out, and he began pleading with him. But he answered and said to his father, Look, for many years I have been serving you, and I have never neglected a command of yours. And yet you have never given me a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your wealth with prostitutes, and you killed the fattened calf for him. And he said to him, Son, you have always been with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, for this brother of yours is dead and has begun to live, and was lost and has been found. Father, as we approach the text this morning, the hour has come upon us. Father, the time to proclaim the message in this great parable. Father, we just pray that you would guide and direct my mouth. I desire to be your spokesperson this morning. But Father, I pray that in all things, Jesus will be exalted and glorified. Father, help us to grasp and to understand the meaning behind this parable. Teach us, Father. This is my prayer in Christ's name. Amen. let's suppose, what if I were to ask you this question? What do you think should be the most powerful influence in someone's life? Now, obviously, and any suggestions that we may make most likely will hinge on two things. First of all is the way that we perhaps look at life, and then how we define these powerful influences. Now, it's true, I feel that it's common knowledge among most people that there are different views in how people view life. For example, those who view life, those who may make suggestions for powerful influences, and for those who view life as fun and pleasure, obviously their suggestions are going to be along those lines. Then for somebody who looks at life, views life in terms of success, their suggestions for powerful influences are going to be exactly that. How they define, how they look at it, and what they think success is. And then how about those who look at life and define life in terms of security? And their suggestion for powerful influences are pretty much going to be what they deem absolute and necessity in terms of security. And then there are those who look at life or define life in terms of relationship. And those folks are going to make suggestions. They're going to look at life and define things in terms of, obviously, relationships. So there are different ways of looking at this with a lot of people. But here's the second question for you this morning. The question is this: what should be the most powerful, positive, beneficial influence in people's lives? Keep in mind, they're not the same question. Okay? They're not the same question. There is a difference. What influences you? What are your influences? What powerful influences do you allow into your life? Now, obviously, today is Father's Day, and so as a preacher and speaker, I have an audience, and thousands of men this morning will be getting into a pulpit, and they will address their audience, and they will talk about fathers. They will talk about great men of faith. They will talk about people, and they will use great illustrations, and many of them are going to show a video clip to simply remind the audience of how important Father's Day is. And so a lot of times it's a very traditional time, and so as a preacher I am compelled to preach a message on Mother's Day, Father's Day, Labor Day, Memorial Day, and so we lock ourselves into those special times and seasons. It's not just an obligation that I'm fulfilling. I want you to understand that not only because it's Father's Day, but this is a message that can be preached any day, any given Sunday. I hope you're with me. Hope we're on the same page. So a father should be, in my humble view, a father should be, and rightly so, the most powerful, influential person in your life. And I hope these short video clips gave you food for thought. But unfortunately, and sad to say, at least here in America, this past week, and I printed it off this morning, but evidently forgot to bring it. It is mind-boggling. It is absolutely critical, and it hurts. It stings to see the absence of the